The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Monday, March 28, 2022, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Sunday, March 27, 2022 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions. Messages from the Assembly. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Reports of select committees. Communications and reports from state officers. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. We're going to simultaneously go through some resolutions while the Finance Committee is meeting, so please call an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee in room 332.
There will be an immediate meeting of the Finance Committee in room 332. Senator Gianaris.
And now let's move on to adopt the resolution calendar with the exception of Resolution 2169.
All those in favor of adopting the resolution calendar with the exception of Resolution 2169, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution calendar is adopted. Senator Gianaris.
Now let's begin with previously adopted Resolution 1940 by Senator Harcum. Read its title and recognize Senator Harcum.
The Secretary will read.
Senate Resolution 1940 by Senator Harcum, recognizing March 29, 2022 as Vietnam Veterans Day.
Senator Harcum on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. And today, as mentioned, is National Vietnam Veterans Day. This is the 10th anniversary of the first commemoration of this event, which was proclaimed by then President Obama back in 2012. I want to thank the Majority Leader for supporting us bringing this event back to the chamber. We were off for 2 years because of COVID, and I'm so glad that we could welcome our veterans back here today. I want to thank Senator Kaplan for visiting with us and spending some time with our veterans as well. So today I want to welcome all veterans of the Vietnam War, and today we have 9 veterans from my district, the 40th Senate District, who proudly served. So here today with us, Art Hanley, the Deputy Director of the Putnam County Veterans Services Agency, Steve Sayed, the Assistant at the Putnam County Veterans Services Agency, William Nazario, the National Senior Vice Commander for the Military Order of the Purple Hearts, Rob Rothkamp, Commander of the Brewster VFW Post 672, Harry Sherblum, Quartermaster of the Brewster VFW Post 672, Eugene Lang, a Purple Heart recipient, Bob Matuszewski, James Mecca, and Tor Heskesta, all veterans of the Vietnam War who are with us here today. From the time the United States carried out its first combat mission on January 12, 1962, until when the last American troops left Vietnam on March 29, 1973, more than 3 million Americans served in that theater, and more than 58,000 sacrificed their lives during that conflict. 300,000 were wounded, and more than 75,000 permanently disabled, and 1,200 remain missing and unaccounted for. And we pray for them on a daily basis. But today we pay homage to the brave men and women who served in that conflict and are here with us today, knowing full well that they served with tremendous courage and sacrifice, knowing full well that when they returned home alive, they bore physical and psychological scars, many of which were life-lasting. If anything, we must acknowledge that that era, the Vietnam era in our nation, was a scar on our history. Not because of the men and the women who left their homes to volunteer their services or when they were called to duty, but because how these brave men and women were treated when they returned from the war. They were disparaged, they were dishonored, they unfairly faced blame and shame, and they were denigrated and they were vilified. And today we know better. And we know how much honor and respect and gratitude they all deserve for putting on the uniform, for wearing the flag on their arm and traveling to the other side of the globe and serving our country. And today we understand that our Vietnam War veterans learn to protect each other and to continue to protect each other today. And as I mentioned, many of them are involved in veteran services, working with each other and also working within the community. And today we see Vietnam veterans at airports all across the country welcoming back the men and women of our armed services as they return home from combat, knowing full well that we were not there for them when they came back home, and yet they are there with their arms open, and these are the types of leaders we talk about when we debate the funding, the increase of funding that we all support in this chamber for the Dwyer Vet-to-Vet program. So today we enter into the record of the proceedings a resolution that New York State wishes to show all of our Vietnam veterans the respect and the appreciation that they did not always get when they return home. Welcome home, and thank you for your service. So today we pause our deliberations to recognize that March 29th as Vietnam Veterans Day and to thank our brave Vietnam veterans for their honorable and noble service to this country. Thank you, and God bless you. I vote aye, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Harkin. Senator Brooks on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Harkin, for introducing this resolution. You know, as we think back to the Vietnam days and what we went through, and for those of us who were in the service during those years, the war, unfortunately, took a very, very political turn. The gentlemen and people that we honor today, men and women, who served in that war, did their duty and followed the orders they were given. And in many, many ways, they became victims of the political drama, if you will, that was going on in our country. Whether these individuals were drafted or enlisted, they were following out the orders of their country. And unfortunately, many times, they were effectively held liable for things they had nothing to do with. There was a point during the war that if you were traveling and you were in uniform, you would often take it off, change into civilian clothes. When these soldiers returned home, they weren't welcomed home. They weren't respected for the responsibilities they had and they carried out. It was a sad commentary on our nation. We, as the free citizens of this country, all of what we hold and enjoy, all of our rights and privileges, in the end, come from the services of those who are in the military, particularly during wartime. I served in the military during the Vietnam War. I never was activated to go to Vietnam, and I often felt that I didn't have the right to say that I'm a veteran, because I saw what those who were engaged in the war had to go through and carry out. The physical scars and the mental scars that they had. I can still remember hearing of the loss of different friends over there and how you felt. Today, so many years after the war, we're still dealing with the damage from that war. Psychological and physical injuries, exposures to chemicals. Today, we have an opportunity to say to the gentlemen and ladies that served in this war, thank you. Thank you for protecting our nation. Thank you for carrying out the orders that you were directed to carry. And the legislative bodies of this country and this state need to recognize the responsibilities we have to those who serve this nation. I think in this body, we've done a great job expanding programs to help and protect and serve those individuals. But we can never, ever make up for how these men and women were treated when they returned home. So to the veterans that gather with us today, I say to all of you, welcome home, and thank you for your service to this nation. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Brooks. Senator Addabbo on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tough act to follow. Good afternoon, everyone. I too want to thank Senator Harkin for the resolution, giving us the opportunity to express our appreciation and recognition for our Vietnam War veterans on this Vietnam War Veterans Day. And as a proud member of the Senate Veterans Committee, so ably chaired by Senator Brooks, it is an honor to say thank you. Actually, in my town, in my district of Elmhurst today, the Vietnam Chapter 32, Vietnam Veterans did a memorial at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial there today, and we thank them for that as well. As was mentioned, so many of our Vietnam veterans returned home were not respected and were not given the accommodations that they should have done. And that was unacceptable and wrong then, and forever will be unacceptable and wrong. And so that's why it's so important to have this resolution today to, again, express the appropriate recognition and appreciation. I remember a quote from President Calvin Coolidge that said, a nation which forgets its defenders will be itself forgotten. We will never forget. From here on in, we will never forget the sacrifices made by our Vietnam veterans. I'm of the opinion every day is Veterans Day. We thank our veterans every day, but on this day, we take that special moment to thank our Vietnam veterans for returning home, and we say appropriately, welcome home, and thank you for your service. May God bless you and all the veterans across this world. Thank you so much. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Addabbo. Senator Mayer on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Thank you for your service, and thank you for honoring us with your presence and this opportunity awarded by Senator Harkin's resolution for us to speak about not only you, but all your comrades and colleagues who served. Today, in preparing for this resolution, I read a number of letters written home from Vietnam vets. There's quite a collection. The letters are extraordinary of how tough it was, how difficult to write to your loved ones and tell the stories of what was happening, the loss of colleagues and comrades, the brotherhood and the sisterhood that was fostered there. It is a reminder that the intensity of that war was so great that those of us here in the comfort of home and not in Vietnam will never understand what it was like. And so I commend to everyone to read those letters and to get the feeling of what it was like for someone in the Army or in one of the services to write home to their loved one. But then I was prompted to read the speech, part of the speech by then President Obama when this day was created. And he was far more artful than I was, and I just wanted to read a little bit of what he said. Let us tell a story of a generation that came home and how, even though some Americans turned their back on you, you never turned your back on America. Like generations before you, you took off the uniform, but you never stopped serving. You became teachers and police officers and nurses, the folks we count on every day. You became leaders and public servants from town halls to Capitol Hill, lifting up our communities, our state, and our nation. You reminded us of what it was like to serve, what it meant to serve. And so you have given us the example of what true service is. Even when our country failed to do right by you, you have kept up with service. And whether you serve in your local veterans organization, and I think some of you, I'm from Southern Westchester, may come down to Yonkers or New Rochelle occasionally with your veteran brothers. Today is a day when it is our obligation not only to say we will never allow what happened to you to happen again, but at the same time we acknowledge your long-lasting service, which came after your service in Vietnam. You continue to serve this country so well, and we are so honored today to be able to have this day and have the opportunity to thank you for your service from a very meaningful place, and to say God bless you and God bless America, and thank you for standing for our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Mayer. Senator May on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank my colleague, Senator Harkin, for bringing this resolution, and to our guests as well. Thank you, as Senator Mayer said, for honoring us with your presence. I also rise to thank the 200,000 New Yorkers who served in Vietnam, and the 1 out of every 9 soldiers who was wounded in that war. Out of those who were wounded, 1 in 4 sustained permanent disabilities. And that means that they have carried for their whole lives the sacrifice, every day, the sacrifice that we called on them to make in the Vietnam War. We owe them all of our gratitude and our support, and I especially want to lift up the organizations that support our veterans, in particular, Clear Path for Veterans, which has an amazing facility on the border of Onondaga and Madison counties where they provide space for fellowship, hot meals, wellness programs, and they train service dogs who provide, in their turn, an incredible service to veterans who need the, whether it's help with PTSD or with activities of daily life or just raising their quality of life. So I want to thank all of our veterans and those who support them, because you are doing the work that our country owes to you and to all who served in this war. Thank you. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator May. Senator Steck on the resolution.
I rise too to extend and associate myself with the remarks of my colleagues before on this Vietnam Veterans Day. I wanted to add a little detail to it I thought was worth mentioning. According to the VA, 8.7 million Americans served during the era from 1964 to 1973. 3.4 million were deployed to Southeast Asia, and 2.7 million served in the Republic of Vietnam. 58,220 Americans were killed in Vietnam. And at the war's end, 2,646 were listed as POW or MIA, and as of today, 1,584 are still unaccounted for. So I think it's important for us to pause and remember that we left a lot of good people behind, good Americans that were serving their country. They were following orders. They were doing what elected officials sent them to do. And of course, this has been mentioned on this floor before, but I think worth emphasizing, it's important to remember the disgrace that was shown them when they returned home. Uncalled for, certainly un-American, to treat people that many of them volunteered, but back then, many of them did not volunteer. They were there against their will. They were forced to go there by their government. And their thanks for that service and sacrifice, was to be spit upon, discriminated against, refused employment, refused housing, because they served this nation. It's a national embarrassment, and it's worth remembering, and it's worth pointing out today. Now, one of those veterans is near and dear to my heart. My father, who was a United States Marine, served 1962 to 65, and he served in Vietnam in 1965 in artillery. And he's talked about his service, and he's proud of his service. And fortunately, I think he was spared a lot of the indignation that a lot of his fellow soldiers and sailors, airmen and Marines experienced when they came back home. And so to the 9 that are here blessing us with their presence today, I say thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Our country should be sorry for the way that you were treated, for serving your country, your duty. And I'm thankful for all of our veteran service, but today, Vietnam Veterans Day, is about those that served and sacrificed and got very little thanks and gratitude in return from this nation. So with that, I will be in favor of this resolution. I thank my colleagues, Senator Harkin, for bringing it forward, and for all my colleagues' remarks earlier today on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Steck. Senator Borrello on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, am proud to stand here today for Vietnam War Remembrance Day. I want to thank Senator Harkin, and also I would like to thank Senator Brooks for his heartfelt remarks from someone who lived through the era. My father, Tony Borrello, was one of those folks that was drafted to serve in the Vietnam War, as was his only brother, his only sibling, Frank Borrello. Both served in Vietnam. It was something that was very difficult for my grandparents. My grandmother worried every day. We don't have the communication then that they have now. And God smiled upon her one day because by chance, and all of that went on, all the places that people were deployed, one day my father and my uncle were in the same mess hall together. They weren't even the same section, but they got to see each other, and my grandmother got to hear that they knew each other were okay. But the scars were permanent, and again, what they suffered was most because of how they were treated when they came home. Many family friends, as well as family members, served in Vietnam. My father and his brothers and cousins all got together at the VFW, talked about it. It was a difficult time. Thank God we now understand the importance of what they've done and what every veteran has done to secure this nation's freedom. Thank God that people like that were told by their government to go fight in a war on the other side of the world, did it. They didn't escape to Canada or whatever else. They did it. And quite frankly, like many other wars, this is a war fought largely by working class people and people of color. And they did it proudly to serve this nation. So my father, thank you. And to all of you, welcome home.
Thank you, Senator Borrello. Senator Lanza on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, of course, I would like to thank Senator Harkin for the resolution. It's as important a resolution as we will see here on the floor, in my estimation. You know, by operational law, every year on March 29th, in the state of New York, it is Vietnam Veterans Day. I know that because I was the author of the law in my first year here in the Senate. And we sometimes, as senators, like to go around and say, you know, I wrote that law or this law. But I didn't write this one. In my first year, I was approached by a Staten Islander, a Vietnam veteran, Lester Medelowitz, who came to me and said, here in New York, of all the states which gave so much in that war, so much blood, so much sacrifice, we need to establish March 29th as Vietnam Veterans Day. And of course, as anyone in this room would have said, I responded by saying, we're going to do it. We wrote the law. Senator Savino was a co-sponsor. Assemblyman Titone in the Assembly introduced it there. We eventually passed it on this floor unanimously, Democrat and Republican, because it was the right thing to do, and the governor signed it. You know, a lot of people came to us and said, why do we need Vietnam Veterans Day? We have Veterans Day, we have Memorial Day. Why do we need another one? People actually came to us in our offices and asked why we needed to do it. And of course, everyone in this room knows why we needed to do it. And the simple answer was because something different happened to Vietnam veterans as they returned home that did not happen to others in other conflicts in prior wars. Why do we need this law? For me, it's 4 simple reasons. Let me go back for a minute. We were one of the first states in America to do it. The origin of this day occurred back in 1974, the year after the last American troops came home. President Nixon issued a proclamation saying that March 29th ought to be a day of recognition of what happened. But it lasted 1 year. After we passed the law in this state, Senator Savino and I and Vietnam veterans lobbied the Obama administration to make it a national law. We weren't able to do it, but President Obama did take the first step in 2012 and again issue a proclamation honoring March 29th as Vietnam Veterans Day. But again, it was a one-year event. Finally, in 2017, our efforts continued, and President Trump, in 2017, signed the law that makes every single year on March 29th here in America Vietnam Veterans Day. We were among the first to do that here in New York. I'm proud of that. So why do we need it? 4 reasons as far as I'm concerned. First, in a way, it's an act of contrition. I was raised to believe that when you make a mistake, you say you're sorry. And this is one way for us to say we are sorry for what happened. I listened to the pain, and we all did, in Senator Brooks' words as he described his honorable service to this nation. There should be no pain associated with that, only honor. And I applaud you and thank you and respect you for what you've done for our country. Second, we need to educate each other. I firmly believe that if we don't understand our history, if we don't understand that which we have done, and if we don't embrace our mistakes, they will be repeated. Every generation needs to know what happened so that it doesn't happen again. I tell young people all the time, be careful of adults who don't want you to know your history because it's your future that they're trying to steal. Today, we teach each other that this can never happen again. Finally, this day allows us to do that which should have happened then. What happened, as many have said here, and I associate myself with all the remarks of all of my colleagues, was a very shameful chapter in American history. And today we get to do what should have been done then, which is to say, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. We all have Vietnam veterans in our districts. You all know them. Some of the most courageous, honorable, decent human beings you'll ever meet. When you see them, say thank you. Senator Brooks, thank you. Thank you. You know, we cherish the freedom we have in America. I said 4 reasons, right? I only said 3. I'll go back to the 4th. The 4th is, I'll take any excuse to say thank you to veterans. If it's a law or if it's another day, every day, I'll never turn down an excuse to say thank you to veterans, in particular Vietnam veterans. You mean so much to us today. You meant so much to us then. You think about what happened and why it happened, because of some warped people, weak politicians, Jane Fonda, misguided academic world. I don't know what all came together to contribute to this shameful tragedy, but it did, and we need to embrace it so we can stand up against it and make sure it doesn't happen again. So, to you Vietnam veterans, we cherish our freedoms here in America. The principle is embodied in our founding documents, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We all know they wouldn't be worth the paper they're printed on if not for our soldiers, our veterans, our Vietnam veterans. So again, I will say thank you. Welcome home.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Senator Hinchey on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Senator Harckham, for bringing forward this resolution. And Senator Brooks, I too want to say thank you for your honest and heartfelt words. The call to service is something that you are born with. And the call to listen to your country when your country calls you to service is a duty that no one can ever repay. I'm here to say thank you for giving us really the shoulders to stand on, because it is your service to our country and adhering those calls that allows many of us to continue to do what we do here in this room. One Vietnam veteran I'd like to call attention to is Colonel Roger Donlin, a Saugerties native, my hometown, who was awarded the first Medal of Honor ever presented to a Vietnam veteran by President Johnson for his heroism during the war. Colonel Donlin was a historic figure growing up in Saugerties. We often spent much of our time after school at the Donlin, and that always instilled in us the importance of service to our country, for standing up for our communities, and making sure that we never forget the challenges and the pain that many of our veterans have experienced, especially those who did not get the recognition they deserved, our Vietnam veterans, when they came home from the war. And it's often, as we've heard in this room, it's often our Vietnam veterans, because of the lack of recognition, the lack of respect, the lack of attention they received, they're the ones who are the first ones welcoming other veterans back into our communities. They're the ones leading the charge for veterans' flags and recognition, for veterans' dinners in our community. They've never forgotten the importance of honoring and recognizing people when they come home. So I'm here to say thank you for your service. Thank you for being here with us today, and to all of the veterans across our state and those in the 46th District, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Senator Hinchey. Senator Reichlin-Melnick on the resolution.
Excuse me. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise as a proud member of the Senate's Veterans Committee in support of this resolution. I want to thank Senator Harckham for introducing it, Senator Brooks, our Vets Committee Chair, for your heartfelt words, and of course, all of the veterans who have joined us today as we celebrate and recognize and honor your service on Vietnam War Veterans Day. You know, over 2.7 million Americans served in the Vietnam War, and that is more than all those who have served in our wars since. And we need to acknowledge them, and we need to acknowledge not only those who served, we need to remember the more than 58,000 who did not come home, the 153,000 who were wounded, 75,000 who were severely disabled, and those who served with incredible bravery, nearly 240 of whom earned the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest award. And though this day, Vietnam War Veterans Day, was only officially established a decade ago, only signed into law 5 years ago, we've been recognizing and we've been celebrating those who served in New York for so many years. In my district in Rockland and Westchester, we honor the service of our veterans of the Vietnam War and of other wars each year on Veterans Day, and we honor the service of those who paid the ultimate price on Memorial Day. We support veterans programs like the Joseph P. Dwyer Vet-to-Vet program that provide such invaluable support to veterans who are dealing with PTSD and other after effects of this horrible conflict. The Vietnam War was controversial when it was being waged. Many questioned whether the U.S. role in the conflict was appropriate, or they questioned the tactics used to try to secure victory. But regardless of the answers to those questions, all Americans should be able to come together to salute those who served. Some Vietnam vets chose to serve, others were drafted, but all who I have ever met served with distinction and dedication and bravery, making the best of an impossibly dangerous and a difficult environment. The Vietnam War changed our history, making a generation of Americans more skeptical of foreign interventions and hesitant to project our power abroad. But as we watch today as a murderous tyrant invades and seeks to subjugate a neighboring country, and we see Ukrainian soldiers fighting for their homeland with weapons supplied by the U.S., it is an invaluable reminder that the U.S. can't retreat from the world. We still have a vested interest, as we did 50 years ago, in standing up to dictators and to hostile foreign powers. And so once again, I want to thank every veteran of the Vietnam era for your service. We are eternally grateful, and I proudly support this resolution.
Thank you, Senator Reichlin-Melnick. Senator Kaplan on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to say welcome, but more importantly, to say thank you to the Vietnam veterans we have before us here today and throughout the state. To all the brave individuals, your state and your country never truly repay you for your service. But we can thank you for your sacrifice, your bravery, and the example you set for us all. Your selfless dedication to the ideals of this great nation continue the course we as people follow. Thank you again to Senator Harkin for bringing this resolution to the floor today. And thank you, Mr. President, and I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Kaplan. Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take this moment to recognize these extraordinary heroes in our presence today in this chamber. I want to start by thanking you for your service to this great country and to the world. I want to recognize my colleague, Senator Harkin, for bringing this to the floor, our colleague, Senator Brooks, all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who have spoken so eloquently already. This is clearly an emotional day for everybody here in this chamber. We are humbled by your presence, and I think we're humbled by this resolution, reminding us all of our country, of our history, of our state, of where we came from, whose shoulders we stand on, and the price that each and every one of you paid in giving up your youth to put on the colors of the United States military, to go to a foreign land and fight a war that you were asked to fight. Some of you were enlisted. Some of you enlisted yourselves. Some of you were drafted. Many were drafted. Millions of people went off to war. 58,000 never made it home. Many of whom did make it home suffered the hidden tolls of war and continue to suffer those hidden tolls. And were met by a government and a people that disrespected and dishonored your service to the flag. That is reprehensible. It should have never happened, and it should never happen again. So I was born in 1976, 3 years after the last soldier was pulled out of active duty in Vietnam. So when I was coming up and learning about the world and learning about veterans and their service to this country and learning about the heroes who gave it all so that we could have debates like this in peace on this Senate floor and in the halls of the nation's capital and in communities across this great country and lead across the globe.
The stories of Vietnam came to me in waves as I was coming up. Born in the 70s, a child of the 80s, learning more through the 90s and even today. It was a few years back that one of the greatest documentaries I think has ever been created by Ken Burns detailed the story from start to completion, before the start of America's involvement in Vietnam to completion and through to today. And Ken Burns told of the story in real life, in the horrors that you all had to face, and the difficulties that you all had to come home with. And it broke my heart to think about the fact that this country and the people of this country in so many ways mistreated you and your fellow soldiers. So I take it upon myself, and I think from what you've heard in this chamber here today, we take it upon ourselves as a government and of individuals and of leaders throughout the state to recognize you, particularly those that served in the Vietnam War, and know that this country is grateful for your service. Know that my generation recognizes the sacrifices that you have made and continue to make. And know that we recognize and honor those that never made it home. Thank you for your courage, for your bravery, for your service to this country and to all of us. May God bless each and every one of you. Thank you, Mr. President. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Matera on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to commend Senator Harkin and our Senator Brooks, because I know what kind of heart you have and what you have done. Vietnam Veterans Day is so important, and you know what? I want to face everybody here that you protected us all from harm's way. One thing I'm proud of, that I belong to Heroes for Our Heroes. Back in Smithtown, we have Donato Panico, and what we do is we give meals to our veterans, but especially our Vietnam vets, that in other words, that need our help. They were there for us, and we need to show how grateful we are for what all has been done. Me being a labor leader with the Plumbers Union, we have our Helmets to Hard Hat program, so when our veterans come home, they have a place, they want to go into the trades. We have the red carpet. I am so proud of that. And when they come in, we make sure that we go, and they want to get into the Plumbers Union or any of the other trades with the building trades. And it's been so important to me. When I was growing up, my parents, and I'm very proud of this, we would watch the news, after dinner, and my parents made sure that we sat and we watched the news. And back when I was younger, I was like, wow, we're watching, and we would watch the news about Vietnam and all the soldiers that were over there and doing it. And my parents would sit there, and they would educate us to say how important this was, that in other words, our soldiers are over there fighting for our freedoms. And, I was just so proud of that. And that was almost every night that we would do that. And, it just made me what I am today about what it is about our soldiers. History is so important that we teach history in our schools, and I think that we need to make sure, as elected officials, we all make sure that history is being taught in our schools. And I really feel that we got away from that in a lot of ways. And one thing as an elected official, I am making sure that that is happening, that we speak about what happened, and and that we're proud of what happened, and we're proud of that our soldiers protected us. One thing about everybody that's a Vietnam vet, I know what's happening with Ukraine right now, and I know everybody up there would go sign up tomorrow morning or today, right now today, you would sign up to go fight for our country. And you know what? I'd be right there with you. And I'm so proud to say that today, because I know you're shaking your head, because that is so true. And that's what America's about, and you are Americans. And I am saying this today. Thank you. God bless all our Vietnam veterans. God bless all that are serving right now, and especially God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Matera. Senator Ort on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to add my voice to thank Senator Harcum for bringing forward this resolution today. I want to thank my colleague, Senator Brooks, who I had the privilege to serve alongside on the Veterans Committee for a couple years there. Senator Brooks was always a gentleman. He always ensured that there was not even bipartisanship, it was nonpartisanship. It was really about veterans issues. It was a great committee to be a part of, and I want to thank him for his leadership on that. But that's not an accident. It's because he did wear the uniform. And he served in a time when wearing the uniform was a partisan issue. And that's really what we're talking about here today, because that's unique. And it should never be, but yet it became that way at a very dark time in our country's history. And it was a dark time across the board. There were many things that we can look back on in that period, and we could probably agree that that was not the height of American history. But I want to thank Senator Brooks for his service, both then and now. And I want to thank him for his words. I want to thank our Vietnam veterans that are up there today, because you represent so many other Vietnam veterans who could not be here today. You represent so many other Vietnam veterans who actually never came back home, as well as the ones who came back home. Because every veteran believes in their bones that the real heroes were the ones who never made it back. The ones whose names are inscribed on that black wall in Washington, D.C. But it's sort of fitting maybe that we're here today, just a few days after we had West Point Day, where we had cadets from West Point who were here. And I know all of you, I'm sure, were struck by the age of those cadets and how young they looked. And maybe it was a reminder how older we were getting too, but that's a different story. But you all know how young they were, and to think that maybe a year from today, maybe a few months from today, those young men and women could be in combat. And that was the age of these men and our Vietnam veterans. I know we always think of, I always think of World War II veterans or Vietnam veterans, and you think of them as veterans, right? You think of them as older people. But I can promise you, when they were getting dropped into hot LZs in Vietnam, when they were engaging with the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese Army, they were every bit the kids that we saw in this chamber last week. And we tend to think of the Vietnam War, and this is unfortunate in my view, but we tend to think of the Vietnam War as a war that we lost. And maybe politically that's true. Maybe politically we lost that war. But militarily, make no mistake, every single engagement with the enemy between United States forces and enemy forces, North Vietnamese Army, every single engagement we won. The men up there and all the Vietnam veterans across this country, they won. They did their job militarily. They won all those engagements. They brought honor to the United States in their job. It was us who brought dishonor when they returned. But I want to just sort of close on a perspective. So when I came back home from Afghanistan, there was people at the airport. There were parades in your hometown. There were all kinds of programs. You go to the Home Depot and there's discount programs. There's Thank a Vet programs at your county clerk's office. There's license plates that we authorize for different conflicts to recognize your service. I was at a Buffalo Sabres game the other night, and they recognized a veteran in the crowd. 18,000 people stood up and applauded that veteran for his service. That's all because of the Vietnam veterans. There is no way all those things are happening today but for this generation who decided that they were never going to let that happen to another generation of American fighting men and women. There's all kinds of programs today. You know, I think about it, and all of you have dealt with this, World War II veterans. When they came back, they were just, happy to get back alive. They didn't ask for the medals or this or that. They just went back to work. But it's the Vietnam veterans who make sure that today, when soldiers return, they get the medals they're owed. They're the ones who make sure the VA is a lot better about medical services and treating veterans. They have collectively made us appreciate the American men and fighting women because we didn't appreciate it when they came back home. And they've made sure that that will never happen again, not on their watch. When I go to a funeral of a veteran from Iraq or Afghanistan, it was always Vietnam veterans who were out holding the flags on the roadway. It was the Vietnam veterans who escorted that fallen soldier to their final resting place. See, they have made a decision, a conscious decision, that this nation was better than what we gave them when they came back. And I think it's awesome that we are here today, that you get to be here today, to see. It took a lot of time, but we can make, as a country, as a state, as a community, we can make the decision that, you know what, we were wrong then. And I know people who were there at that time who didn't serve, who protested, who were part of the dishonor and disrespect shown, and they will tell me today, you know what, that was wrong. That was wrong. And I think that speaks also to who we are as a country, that we can overcome those dark moments, that we can reconcile that and apologize, and we can make good that which we screwed up. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank you for never forgetting that even after you took that uniform off, you never forgot your oath to this country. You never forgot your oath to the men and women, your brothers and sisters in arms, whether they never came home or they did come home. And, it's a unique, I should mention the Vietnam veterans, certainly organizations out there, Vietnam Veterans Chapter 77 back home in Western New York where I represent. But it is a unique, when this generation is gone, it's going to be up to us to remind future generations that that happened and that it can't happen again. That we recognize and honor our veterans, not because they're rock stars, but because they choose to raise their hand and serve their country, even at risk of their life. And that should always, regardless of how you feel about the political decision to go to war, any war, the service and sacrifice should always be honored and respected. So to all of you, I say thank you for your service, welcome home, and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Ort. Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins to close.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I just want to add my voice to the chorus of voices that thank Senator Harkin for making sure that this resolution happened. Thank you, Senator Brooks, for being outstanding as chair of our committee and for the service that you continue to render on behalf of veterans throughout this state. And again, thank you to Leader Ort, because you too are a veteran. And you spend a lot of time talking about others, and sometimes people don't, put the spotlight on themselves, so I get that. And to all who have had the honor and the privilege to wear a uniform in service of this great nation. As I listen to people talk, you know, I get to date myself because I remember the Vietnam War. You know, I stand up and I talk about my dad, who was a World War II veteran, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, amazing man. And at that time, he served in a segregated army. And when he came home, it wasn't all sunshine for him. The GI Bills didn't apply to black soldiers. And so the benefits that happened for so many didn't happen for my family and my dad. But it didn't stop my brother when it came to serve in Vietnam, to don the uniform of the Marines and go to Vietnam. And I remembered that he wasn't old enough to vote then because the voting age was 21, and Bobby was 18. But he went, and he thought it was a duty and a privilege. And he wasn't the only one that left our housing project to go. A lot of his friends didn't come back. He didn't know why he was there, but he knew it was in service of the country. And my brother, he said he heard on the plane, he heard God speak to him. He said, "Do not fear, you will not die here." And every day when he went out, he somehow knew he wouldn't die, although death was all around him. But he came back. And unlike what happened to my dad, who had to go back to his segregated life with few opportunities, my brother came back and experienced what you experienced. A different kind of segregation, the kind that said that you were in this unpopular place doing this unpopular thing, and therefore you're not worthy. And it was the camaraderie and the respect that you had one for another and for the valor that you had that rallied around each other and built each other up in every way you could. And as we matured in our understanding that things aren't always this way or that way, and as we matured in our understanding of our rights, and yes, letting 18-year-olds vote so that they could have a say, and allowing for the power of your example to seep into our collective psyche. Because of that, we stand here in this chamber and chambers across the nation on this day to say thank you. Thank you for teaching us better. Thank you for showing us better. Thank you for representing all those who did not come back. Thank you for not allowing their memory to be lost. And thank you for making us promise that that injustice will never happen again. God bless you for being here and gracing our chamber. God bless you for your service. And please understand that your example will never be forgotten. And if we get it right, this will never, ever happen. But even better, we will never have to go to senseless war. Thank you so very much. I vote aye.
Thank you, Leader Stewart-Cousins. To our distinguished and honored guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Thank you for your perseverance, your courage, your bravery, your service then and now. Please rise and be recognized. resolution was previously adopted on March 1st. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks once again to our distinguished guests. Let's move on now to previously adopted Resolution 2042 by Senator Kennedy. Read that resolution's title and recognize Senator Kennedy.
Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 2042 by Senator Kennedy, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim March 2022 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in the state of New York.
Senator Kennedy on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I rise to recognize March 2022 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in New York State. Bleeding disorders affect hundreds of thousands of people here in New York, 1 in 100 New Yorkers, and include a variety of genetic conditions, including hemophilia, von Willebrand disease, sickle cell anemia, and platelet disorders. As recently as the 1960s, there was no treatment for people with bleeding disorders. Those with serious symptoms such as prolonged bleeding, debilitating joint and muscle damage, and organ failure often had a life expectancy of only 40 years. Fast forward to today, and there's far more hope. With the right treatment, people diagnosed with bleeding disorders are leading full, productive lives. Part of that is due to the advancements in medicine and research that have profoundly impacted what we know about these disorders and how we treat them. And the other part is credited to early diagnosis, proper care, and ensuring patients have access to the medication and services that they need to survive. By recognizing March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, New York is aligning with the observance of National Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month and fostering public awareness and understanding of these disorders with the hope of educating New Yorkers about the symptoms and encouraging early detection and treatment. The National Hemophilia Foundation is encouraging our greater community and our state and other states across the nation to start the conversation this month. And that's exactly what we're doing here today, Mr. President. I encourage our colleagues to join me in bringing attention to these disorders with the hope that we can provide resources and start a conversation that can potentially save lives. With that, Mr. President, I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. The resolution was previously adopted on March 15th. Senator Gianaris.
And now let's take up Resolution 2169 by Senator Mayer. Read that resolution's title and recognize Senator Mayer.
Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 2169 by Senator Mayer, memorializing the death of Beverly L. Ouderkirk, renowned member of the New York State Board of Regents, distinguished citizen, and devoted member of her community.
Senator Mayer on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's truly my honor to speak on behalf of this resolution mourning the death of Beverly Ouderkirk. Beverly Ouderkirk was a distinguished member of the Board of Regents. She had been appointed on April 1, 2015. She passed away last week at the age of 82. Beverly Ouderkirk had an extraordinary career, 50 years in public education, and through it all, an incredible commitment to the people, not only of her community, but all the students of New York. In the region, she proudly represented the 11 counties comprising the major geographic portion of the North Country. But I would say, having met with her and worked with her, that her commitment was to students everywhere. It didn't matter whether you were from Ogdensburg or you were from Brooklyn. She understood the role of public education, and she was extraordinarily committed to it. She served as an educator for 17 years, working her way up through several school districts, ultimately to becoming deputy superintendent in the Gouverneur Central School District. And then she kept going and became ultimately a BOCES district superintendent at Genesee Valley in Western New York. After she accomplished all that over a period of 17 years, working seriously every step of the way up the ladder, she retired, but she didn't retire. She then took on additional roles as an interim superintendent, and she had really a job that I think is pretty extraordinary. We never give it credit. She was the shared superintendent of the St. Regis Falls and Brushton-Moira Central School Districts, a first in New York State. And for those of us in government and politics, to be a superintendent, a shared superintendent of two districts, I can't think of a more challenging thing, which she did extraordinarily well. She also was very active in her community on top of all this. She was a member of the Morristown Village Board, the Morristown Chamber of Commerce, the Morristown Public Library Board, the Festival Planning Committee. She had 3 very successful adult sons, a foster mother to a child with disabilities, a host parent to 2 AFS foreign exchange students, a grandmother to 6 unique grandchildren, one of whom is hard of hearing. She was both individually and collectively a force for the power of public education. I have the distinct honor of working with her as she was co-chair of the State Aid Subcommittee on the Board of Regents. She came to roundtables throughout the state as we tried to determine how to address the failure to fully fund foundation aid prior to the pandemic. And up to the date of her death, she was still fighting for public education, for public students, for equality of opportunity, for seeing education through the lens of equity, and for ensuring that New York lived up to its model of a top place for public education. We mourn her death, we mourn her passion and her commitment, and we honor her by this resolution. So I'm very proud that I could bring this resolution to the floor. I look forward to presenting it to her family. Thank you, Mr. President. I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator Mayer. The question is on the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted. Senator Gianaris.
At the request of the various sponsors, the resolutions we took up today are open for co-sponsorship.
These resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor of the resolutions, please notify the desk. Senator Gianaris.
Mr. President, there's a report of the Finance Committee at the desk. Please take that up.
Secretary will read.
Senator Kruger from the Committee on Finance reports the following bill. Senate Print 8002, Senate Budget Bill, an act making appropriations for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service. Bill reports direct to 3rd reading.
To accept the report of the Finance Committee.
All those in favor of accepting the report of the Finance Committee signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The report of the Finance Committee is adopted. Senator Gianaris.
At this time, let's take up the calendar, Mr. President.
Secretary will read.
Calendar number 248, Senate Print 1826A by Senator Skoufis, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act will take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 336, Senate Print 5280 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the administrative code of the City of New York.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 355, Senate Print 2972 by Senator Harcum, an act to amend Chapter 668 of the laws of 1977.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 356, Senate Print 2973 by Senator Harcum, an act to amend Chapter 606 of the laws of 2006.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 409, Senate Print 7501 by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Borrello to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to support this bill today, and largely because I have a somewhat personal experience with the rabies vaccine issue. A few years ago, I traveled to a conference in the country of Panama, and my wife came along with me, and as part of the trip, we took a tour of the Panama Canal by boat, a very small boat. The boat went up to something called Monkey Island, where we could see monkeys moving about the trees. However, one of those wild monkeys actually jumped onto the boat and started running around the boat. And my wife decided that she wanted to try to pet the monkey, which turned out to be a really bad idea because the monkey sunk her teeth into her hand. It was a pretty big wound, bled profusely. My wife, to her credit, wanted to continue the tour, despite the fact that she was bleeding profusely. But we turned the boat around and went back to the mainland. Long story short, we went to a hospital in the megapolis of Panama City. I was a little concerned, but I will say the healthcare in Panama is actually quite good. They took very good care of my wife. They actually called in a plastic surgeon to stitch her up. And I said to the doctor, well, something like this must happen all the time, right? And his answer was, no. Actually, I've never seen this before. I've never seen anybody get bit by a monkey. So long story short, they did stitch my wife up, gave her some antibiotics, and really said, didn't give an opinion on whether or not she should have a rabies shot. So on the flight home, we decided it would be good for her to actually get the rabies vaccine because rabies is incurable and deadly. You will die of a very painful neurological disorder. And there's no way to know, in any case, if the animal actually has a rabies unless they actually have that animal and can dissect its brain. We found all this out as a result of this situation. So thank goodness our county health department was on the ball. They did a fantastic job. But the rabies vaccine is a multiple injection and very, very expensive. It doesn't happen often, as I found out, but it does happen, and it is serious. So I think it's important that insurance companies do step up and pay for this vaccine. I do think it is important that people feel that despite the fact that this might be something they're unsure of, it is very important that you do, should you ever be exposed to the rabies virus. And as my wife found out, it is certainly an interesting experience as she had several injections to add a little bit of insult to injury with her monkey bite. So, I laugh about it now, Mr. President, because everything was fine and my wife handled it like the trooper that she is. But an interesting experience, and I want to thank Senator Hinchey, who I gave video evidence of to prove that I am not exaggerating my story here, because I did put the camera down after she got bit. I want to be clear about that, and so I could help my wife. But Mr. President, I proudly vote aye. Thank you.
Senator Borrello to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
Bill is passed.
Calendar number 476, Senate Print 4703A by Senator Kaplan, an act requiring the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance to conduct a study on how successful property tax grievances have been over the prior 3 years throughout the state.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 476, voted in the negative, Senator Akshar. Ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 481, Senate Print 7549 by Senator Gorin, an act authorizing St. Mark Coptic Church Center to retroactively apply for a real property tax exemption for certain property.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 481, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar and O'Mara. Ayes 61, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 554, Senate Print 1025 by Senator Ramos, enactment of the labor law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 559, Senate Print 7429 by Senator Gurnardez, an act directing the Commissioner of Labor to conduct a comprehensive study on immigrant and refugee participation in adult education.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results. Oh, sorry. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 559, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Serino, and Tedisco. Also Senator Steck. Also Senator Jordan. Ayes 47, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 617, Senate Print 5025A by Senator Serrano, an act creating a legislative task force on outdoor environmental education.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 617, voted in the negative, Senator Akshar, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Let us take up the supplemental calendar now, please.
There is a substitution at the desk. Secretary will read.
Senator Kruger moves to discharge from the Committee on Finance Assembly Bill number 9002 and substitute it for the identical Senate Bill 8002, third reading calendar 741.
Substitution so ordered. The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 741, Assembly number 9002, Assembly Budget Bill, an act making appropriation for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service.
Lay it aside. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's supplemental calendar.
Let's take up the controversial calendar, please.
Secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 741, Assembly number 9002, Assembly Budget Bill, an act making appropriations for the legal requirements of the State Debt Service.
Senator O'Mara.
Thank you, Mr. President. If Senator Kruger would yield for some questions on this bill.
Will Senator Kruger yield for some questions?
With pleasure, Mr. President.
Sponsor yields.
Thank you, Senator Kruger. This bill before us deals with the debt service and the fulfillment of our obligations to our creditors going forward and making payments. However, it also has new debt in it that has not been appropriated yet by this legislature and is assumed to be coming forth in subsequent budget bills that are not before us or even in print yet. Can you tell us how you have estimated the increasing of the debt or new debt coming forth of about $9.3 billion?
Mr. President, my colleague is correct. We think there's potential for up to $9.3 billion in additional debt, and we are building into this bill because it is the debt service bill, and we want to make sure that we get it done on time so that we show our creditors that we make good on what we owe and that there's no lapse. And the truth is, if we support in this bill debt that we don't take on, not to worry, we won't have to pay it.
Mr. President, the senator will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Can you explain to us how the majority came up with the $9.3 billion in projected bonds to be issued in the next fiscal year?
We've accepted the executive's proposal, which would be $9.3 billion, pending final negotiations with the two houses as to whether that is the ultimate number or not.
Through you, Mr. President, will Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
The sponsor yields.
Senator Kruger, why do we not pass this bill today committing to our obligations to make the payments on current debt and then come back and amend it after the budget for whatever new money we actually appropriate in the budget?
I'm not sure that there's a legal answer that we wouldn't have that option. I think it's just become the model of this legislature every year to pass the debt limit bill first, make sure we get that under our belts, even if we're not 100% sure we're going to be on time with the full budget. And then again, if we've put something in here that we don't ever go to market and bond, then we don't owe it, and we avoid the future problem of needing to come back and amend. But I don't know if there's a legal reason why we don't do amendments to budget bills.
Through you, Mr. President.
Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
The sponsor yields.
Would you agree, Senator Kruger, that it's certainly not unusual for this body to come back and do chapter amendments on bills that have been passed, even before bills are signed by the governor?
Yes, we do chapter amendments even before bills are passed by the governor. That I'm not sure by the governor. But I'm not sure there's that much of a pattern of doing that on budget bills themselves.
Through you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
The sponsor yields.
But you would agree that chapter amendments on pieces of legislation other than budget bills is common practice?
Absolutely. We make mistakes, things change all the time, and the great thing about democracy is that there is an ability to come back to the floor of both houses, come to new agreements, and have new bills passed and signed.
Through you, Mr. President, if Senator Kruger will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Absolutely.
The sponsor yields.
Last year, Senator Kruger, the state made some significant prepayments on bonds that were outstanding. What in this debt service bill this year is there in regards to any prepayments of bonds that are outstanding?
Financial plan increases prepayments of debt by $1.5 billion in fiscal year 22 to a total of $2.9 billion. These payments will reduce debt service costs in fiscal years 226 and later. $500 million reduced service costs in 26, $1 billion reduced service costs in 27.
Through you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Does the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Senator Kruger, this debt service bill that is anticipating $9.3 billion in new bond issuance. What does this, at that level of $9.3 billion, what will that increase our outstanding state debt to?
Our outstanding debt currently is $62.9 billion, and the 9.1 or 3 billion, sorry, more, would bring us up to $69.3 billion.
Through you, Mr. President, Senator Kruger will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield? The sponsor yields.
Senator Kruger, those figures account for about a 6.4 increase in the debt to New Yorkers. That's in excess of a 10% increase in debt. How can this majority, how does it feel appropriate to be increasing our debt by 10% at this time, particularly in light of the fact that we have billions and billions of dollars of federal COVID relief funds and billions and billions of dollars of surplus revenues that have come in to the state coffers throughout this fiscal year?
Through you, Mr. President, I think some of this is an ideological discussion, and that's healthy. I think that the governor and my colleagues on the Democratic side believe that there is a reason for debt when you need to invest in long-term infrastructure capital costs. You go to the bond market and you borrow, but you pay it back, which is really the underlying theme of this bill, the guarantee that we will continue to make our debt payments. The good news is we have been continuing to make our debt payments, good years and bad years, and we have a bond market that, quote unquote, rewards us with pretty high grades, allowing us to borrow at fairly low levels compared to most other places in this country, because they recognize that we don't borrow beyond our means. We are able to repay it. And the truth is that the future of our state is far more dependent on whether we've got the infrastructure in place, the capital undergirding, so to speak, of our economy to make sure that we can continue and move forward. So perhaps we would all love to be able to never be in debt, but I actually think that's very uncommon for anyone, either as individuals, and it's certainly unheard of in government. And in the realm of the amount of debt we're taking on and our ability to repay it and the interest rates we are able to borrow money at, I'm very, very confident that New York State can, in fact, absorb this debt, continue to make its payments, and most importantly, purchase the capital and infrastructure items that we need to continue to be the great state of New York.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. President, through you, if Senator Krueger will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
The sponsor yields.
Senator Krueger, of the, assuming this bill is going to pass, which I'm sure it's going to, the amount of outstanding debt and bonds owed by the state of New York will be approximately $69.3 billion. How much of that $69.3 billion has actually been approved by the voters? New York State, with a bond resolution on the ballot.
Standing of our obligated debt, $2.2 billion, was through bonds that went to the voters for a vote. I don't know which bonds at this moment.
Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
So by my calculation, that's somewhere around 2% of all outstanding debt owed by New York State. Only 2% of that has actually been approved by the voters of New York State.
As individual bond acts that went to the voters. Yes, I think we agree with you.
Senator Krueger will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Senator Krueger, of the anticipated $9.3 billion we mentioned, which is anticipated new debt being approved to be paid in this bill, of which will be appropriated in forthcoming budget bills, how much of that is anticipated to be approved by the voters of New York State?
Between $4 and $6 billion. We have a Green Bond Act for $4 billion in the governor's budget, which the Senate has proposed become a $6 billion bond act. I believe that's the only bond act going before the public planned in this budget.
Okay, thank you, Senator Krueger. Through you, Mr. President, if the Senator Krueger would continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
Senator, of this $9.3 billion of new debt to be incurred, other than the Environmental Bond Act, whether that's $4 to $6 billion, where that ends up, how much of this new debt is going to pay our debt to the federal government on the unemployment insurance fund?
That doesn't go through the state general fund, so that wouldn't be included in this. The unemployment fund is a separate fund. It is not general fund money and does not go through the budget the way we talk about.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, if Senator Krueger would yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor yields.
So then the total anticipated debt of the state of $69.3 billion does not include the $9+ billion we owe the federal government for unemployment insurance. Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes.
The sponsor
thank
yields.
Senator Krueger, can you explain to us how that in excess of $9 billion in unemployment insurance debt owed to the federal government, how New York State will pay for that, or how they're obligated to pay for that?
Through you, Mr. President, it's a repayment to the federal government on a loan on our unemployment because in bad economic times, when we draw down more on unemployment, we sometimes find ourselves maxing out the funds that are in that account. And happily, the federal government has set up a system where you can, any state, go to the federal government and take a loan to make sure that you can make good on your unemployment benefit payments. Then in good times, you are expected to be able to repay those loans over time. And this is a system that has been set up for decades and decades and decades and is really an arrangement between employers and employees where the state is basically a centralized middleman, so to speak, in the process, but it's actually not state funds, and it's the federal government loaning to our unemployment fund with the expectation that businesses will repay.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, the senator will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, I will.
The sponsor yields.
So it's the position of this majority that the $9+ billion owed to the federal government for unemployment insurance will be paid back on the backs of businesses who employ workers in New York State via increased workers' compensation rates?
It's a position of this conference. It's federal law and state law that has been in effect since if not soon after the Great Depression of the 30s, I believe. I don't know exactly when unemployment started, but it is literally an arrangement set up in federal law, and all states follow the federal law, and all states find themselves in some variation on the storyline, depending on whether we're coming out of a bad economic period or a better economic period. And thank goodness we have this program so that in tougher times, as everyone knows our economy goes through, we have an ability to make sure that workers are left with not nothing, but some reasonable benefit rate to help tide them over until they can find employment again.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, the sponsor will continue to yield.
Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, certainly.
The sponsor yields.
I'm aware, Senator Krueger, and you may be as well, it's certainly been reported that many states are utilizing their federal COVID relief funds to pay down their unemployment insurance debts that were brought about because of the COVID pandemic. Is there anything, well, there's nothing in this debt service bill to do that, but is there anything anticipated in the budget bills to be coming forward that's going to utilize any of the COVID relief funds or our surplus funds to help New York State businesses by paying down this unemployment insurance fund?
Mr. President, my understanding is that that is still an open discussion in three-way negotiations continuing to take place. But even if we're not, I just want to remind everyone, there's not a deadline on when we have to pay back the federal government, and that this is the model that the program is set up to deal with. So I don't think anybody should get too nervous about the problem of our having outstanding debt in repaying the federal government from UIB.
Thank you, Senator Krueger. And Mr. President, on the bill for a moment, please.
Senator O'Mara on the bill.
I'm concerned with the process here and the timing of this bill, and certainly we want to ensure to our creditors that we're going to pay on our obligations or the bonds that are outstanding. That's not necessarily due until midnight this Thursday, a couple days away, and perhaps by then more of the budget could have been agreed to, or maybe actually be put in print for us to look and be considering what's going to be forthcoming on the spending, particularly the new part of this spending, a 10.2% increase in in the amount of debt that's going to be owed by New Yorkers that we should know at the time we're voting on this bill what that specific amount is going to be, what it's going to be for, in determining, and then have a bill that includes all of that and not a big piece of guesswork on what may or may not be in the budget forthcoming. Certainly, I'm encouraged that of the $9.3 billion of proposed increased debt, $4 to $6 billion of that will go to the ballot for voter approval. That's a far greater percentage of debt than is currently approved by the voters of New York, of only 2% of our outstanding debt. So I believe at this point, at this stage of our budget process, we should not be bringing this bill up at this point, and that at a minimum, the bill should not include anticipated new debt that hasn't even been put on budget bills yet, and that could easily be added through a chapter amendment after we pass the budget. So for that reason, I'll be voting no on this bill, and I encourage other members to join me in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator O'Mara. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. To explain. Secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 2, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Akshar to explain his vote.
Mr. President, thank you. Today, really, we start what can be described as a long and arduous process of passing an on-time budget. And for me, I arrived here in 2016. The budget that particular year is adopted $148 billion. If you look this year in 2022, as proposed by the governor, it's $216 billion. It's an increase the last 6 years of $68 billion. The last 2 years alone, this budget has increased by a staggering 23%. I would ask all of us in this House, have you met a constituent in your district whose income has grown by 28%, their household income? Certainly not in mine. New Yorkers continue to struggle. I align myself with something Senator O'Mara said. I, in fact, believe that we should pay our debt. We owe people money. We, in fact, should pay them. But the reality is, in this particular debt service bill, there is an additional $9.3 billion in projected spending, and frankly, we have no idea what that money is going to be spent on. Now, I'm sure there'll be some debate about, do we have a surplus, do we not have a surplus? If there is one, have we already spent it as proposed by the executive? The reality is that the state's receipts are $22 billion over the enacted projections. So rather than bond for an additional $9.3 billion, it is my suggestion that we use some of that surplus money rather than continuing to borrow. I agree wholeheartedly with the sponsor, with something that she said. She referred to the state, the great state of New York. I agree. It is, in fact, a great state. I'm proud to live here. I'm proud to represent the people back in Senate District 52. But the reality is that many New Yorkers, not only in my Senate district, but throughout this great state of New York, are quickly referring to the state of New York as the unaffordable state of New York. And reckless borrowing like that is contributing to that. Mr. President, I vote no.
Senator Akshar to be recorded in the negative. Senator Kruger to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, we were having a nice discussion, and I think it's really about legitimate concerns about what order we do our budget bills in. And I would agree, it would be better if we knew all the answers and had all the bills ready to go on one day. But we don't. And I also have lived through many years here where we've been here as late as August, still trying to get budgets done. So I've learned to live with the doable, not the impossible. And what I do know about this bill, this is the bill that assures people who we have borrowed money from that we are going to pay our bills. And I frankly don't understand anyone who does vote no against this, because that means you have to go home and tell people, I voted for us not to pay our debts. So you can agree or disagree that the state of New York spends too much money, not enough money, has borrowed too much, hasn't borrowed enough, that no one listens to you. But at the end of the day, do we really want to go home and say, we borrowed money, but now we've decided to vote down the legislation that guarantees that the state of New York continues to make good on the promises we have made? Because when we're not paying our bondholders, that really means we're not paying our own constituents, who actually are the bondholders. So I truly don't understand, even if we want to disagree on every dollar that's in the budget coming up, how we would vote against our obligation to make the payments on the money we have already borrowed and spent. So please, everyone, think about that when you make your vote. I certainly urge a yes vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Krueger to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Lanza to explain his vote.
Mr. President, to explain my vote, I'm going to help people understand what's happening here. It's one thing to vote on a debt bill to satisfy past debt obligations. It's another thing to vote on a so-called debt bill that incurs new debt and puts that on the backs of the taxpayers of the state of New York. And that would be bad enough to say, well, now, given the times that we are seeing here and the difficulties that our constituents are facing, that we're going to take on new debt for new spending when we haven't paid off our old debt. But this even goes one step further in a ridiculous fashion. We're saying we're going to make the taxpayers of the state of New York borrow between $4 and $9 billion in additional borrowing, and we don't even know what it's going to be spent on. And they don't even know what it's going to be spent on. And, Mr. President, in good conscience, I can't vote in favor of legislation that creates between $4 and $9 billion of new debt that the taxpayers will have to shoulder over the next 10, 20, 30 years when we don't even know what it's going to be spent on. That would be irresponsible as far as I'm concerned, and that's why I'll be voting in the negative.
Senator Lanza will be recorded in the negative. Senator Steck to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. To explain my vote, I'd like to go one step farther than my colleague and say, in addition to having up to $9 billion that hasn't been identified yet, being taken on and authorized as new debt here, and the wisdom on that, but certainly the lack of transparency of what exactly that money is going to be borrowed for, that is supposed to be approved by the voters of the state of New York. And on debate today, we asked, out of the $69 billion, less than 10% of that has been or will be actually voter approved. The Constitution requires that debt taken on by the state of New York be voter approved, and almost none of it is in this budget. For that reason and other reasons, I'll be voting against this bill.
Senator Steck to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 741, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberecker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 43, nays 20.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the
Move
desk.
to adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, March 30th at 3 p.m.